That sound good. Ooh.
I'ma follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that I'ma follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that before
I found out the truth and put away all that BS. Hanging on the truth like a white tee V-neck. Chariots swing real low, screaming we next. 12 tribe, one nation every time we flex. Give it all to God and we give him all the glory. Never expect us to make it out this horror ghetto story. Waking up the dead, dry bones come to life. Follow these commandments cause you know it ain't right. Putting up a battle, steady fighting for my soul. When the world get too heavy, I know he won't let me go. So I prophesy in the middle of the summer. Gotta show the most high that it's definitely
I'll follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that before we follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that before the sun.
looking at my baby prophesy like the wind blow. Me tree on his head, keep it honey like a casino. Isaiah 14, prophecy gonna take place. Coming for the youth, so righteously show how to get paid. Waking up the world if I can only give them to listen. Open up the Bible, guarantee you pay attention. Keep away from these snakes and these vipers cause they hissing. If you can't stand the heat, you better stay up out the kitchen. So I tell the jungle you would never take us under. What God put together, let no man put us under. So I prophesy in the middle of the summer. Gotta show the most high that it's definitely
I'ma follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that I'ma follow these commandments and I put that on my mama. Prophesy the words in the middle of the drama. Talking to the jungle, you'll never take us under. I found out the truth, so for you, it's that before dishonor.
Yeah, peace. The Eric Math Scientist True Knowledge. You can catch me on Facebook, TikTok, Bing, and my YouTube's Eric the Mad Scientist. My YouTube. We got the lions den, the lioness. People call it. Some call it the lions. Some call it the queen. The lions den. Introduce yourself, Kareem. Oh my God, somebody don't be around right now. But yeah, the video is about to come. Oh, you could introduce yourself.
Shalom, everybody. Shalom to the panel, and shalom to Plus Vitae, and those that's watching from the clouds. Shalom, everybody.
Yeah, I'm just about to get this video started. It's going I think it's gonna be the Lucifer one with the Lucifer and Isaiah. This is me doing my research through scripture. So I'm coming, like I said, like I come through when I study something, I go through four lenses of it. I study four different ways. So I study all the ways that I see through the translation, through what it supposed to mean, through what they're trying to say it means. Is there some symbolism in it? That's what I do when I do my research on the things that we talk about. So this one is called Who is Lucifer and Isaiah. Y'all enjoy this one. which I think I will.
Meditation.
Oh,
What happens to people who
that's the
experience
last one I'm
an
gonna play.
near-death experience? I am basing this presentation off my research from people who clinically died called peace to Eric Mad Scientist True Knowledge. You can catch me on Facebook.
Yeah, that's my
You said that's that last one? Hold on.
yeah, that's the last one I'm gonna play. The one I'm gonna do is the Lucifer and Isaiah one. I think that's the first video. But this, I think this is the last video. This the last video is the first one. Yeah, yeah, y'all go enjoy that one too. That's a near death experience. I'm going through psychologists and doctors and people who dealt with people who had it, and they're getting a case study on is it something after this? Is there any proof that it could be something after this when you leave this body? And from my research, I'm saying yes. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be deep. Yeah, and the reason I'm doing that is because there's always these atheists and stuff out here saying, telling you it ain't nothing after this. So I'm going through a scientific philosophy, psychology. I'm going through the neuro. I'm going through that type of way to show that it is evidence that it is something after this. We'll speak on what it is. I'm just gonna send it to you in order, so I'm gonna forward it to you right now, so that way you can just get it. So I just forwarded the one I'm
Yeah,
talking
hold on.
about.
Yeah, because you sent me a whole bunch of them back to back. I had the one I needed, but you sent me more and nothing. So which one we doing?
The one I just sent you is who is Lucifer and Isaiah. Let me take some of these off. So I sent the fourth one because it's the YouTube one. But if you could play the other one without the YouTube one, I could take one of them on.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the last one you just sent. I don't know the difference
Yeah,
between them.
that's it. Yeah, the one that I just sent it to you. That's Lucifer. And I just see the next one after that one. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this is Lucifer and Isaiah. I'm just breaking it down. Y'all gonna enjoy this. I got breaking it down in different forms. You know, showing where it came from, what it, showing the verses too. So I'm going through the Bible also. I don't. It's like, see, I think a lot of people mistake it. They just going. Everybody sees one lens, and I tell people it's at least four. So if we get people to understand the other three, we get everybody have a way better understanding of a lot of these, a lot of the scriptures. When you start reading it.
Mad Scientist True Knowledge TikTok. YouTube H Man's Elevate Y'all Man's Research on YouTube. I'm about to make a Facebook page for that too. Or you can check it on my regular Facebook and Instagram True Hot 30. But let's get to the presentation. This is Who is Lucifer?
I'm going to break down all the different meanings: the wicked king, Saint Lucifer, the morning star, and the esoteric meaning. So I'm showing the Bible like I've been showing that it's different layers in it and how all these things got into the Bible to be. Because you have to understand history and translation, influence, and invasion and conquering. I always tell people. All right, let's get to the slides. Let's get to Isaiah. This is the verse that people use a lot to try to say that it was about a being that fell from heaven. Okay, let's go to this verse. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Heaven, which means sky. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Now, people with limited understanding of how they spoke and history and translation would think that this is a being that's talking about going into heaven. And me as a Christian, I've heard it before, of he tried to take over heaven and he was thrown down. But no, this is about a king who wanted to be worshipped just as much as God. He don't have to ascend to heaven. What he's meaning, I want to be worshipped and be more just as powerful as God on here on earth, that people will bow to me. Now you say, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I don't. Let's go to the next verse that people don't really use. Okay, Isaiah 14:14-16. The wicked king that fell. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to earth, but a wicked ruler. All right, 14-16. This is the one they'll never go to. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms? Because back in the day, people look at these rulers as gods, and they try to portray themselves as gods. So when they seen this man fall, he fell from his grace, from the kingdom, and they looked and said, this is the man? This is the man that was locking all the prisoners that wouldn't let us go. This is the man that tried to knock down the nations. This is the man that said he wanted to be like God, but then he has fallen on his knees. Look at him, okay? Now, let's go to how Lucifer, the name, was put into the Bible. Meet this guy right here named Saint Lucifer. Because as we know in Isaiah, most people would tell you, most scholars would tell you that Lucifer was the king of Babylon, which we understand that his name wasn't Lucifer. So how did the name Lucifer get in the Bible? How Lucifer was put in the Bible through translation. A representative of Pope Liberius, Lucifer attended the Synod of Magdalenum Council of Mylene in 355. There he defended Athanasius, the bishop of Alexandria, who had been condemned for his opposition to Arianism. Arian theology holds that the Son of God is not co-eternal with God the Father and is distinct from the Father. The name Lucifer is that a saint named Lucifer, the monitor that many Christians use interchangeably with Satan. Turns out that Lucifer was not an uncommon name in Roman times, and his mention in the Bible was somewhat of a misunderstanding. Now, for my research of this, it was a guy named St. Jerome, and I guess they was beefing, and it had something to do with politics. It's the same way they do now. When they argue with each other, what they do, they make ads about each other, making sure that people look at each other wicked, so one can win over top of the other. Now, let's meet the man who put it in there, who they say put it in there. St. Jerome made Lucifer a demonic being through translation now, because The way he put the name and the way they used these words, heaven and stuff, and then later on made you believe that heaven was a place after death and Lucifer was a being. All this stuff was systematically put in for you to think this. Lucifer in Latin means light bringer, and the name was associated with the planet Venus. Lost in translation, scholars point to Saint Jerome, who translated the Bible into Latin from the original Hebrew and the ancient Greek for associating the name Lucifer with the devil. In the Vulgate Bible, Jerome translated Hebrew Hillel to Lucifer, light bringer. But in Isaiah, Lucifer is the king of Babylon who represented himself as the morning star. Venus, Isaiah 14, contains a taunt, a kind of ancient insult, song or poem, against one of the oppressors of Israel. The king of Babylon explains Catholic.com. The king of Babylon fancied himself as something high and mighty, like the day star itself, but God brings him low to the end. Now you see that? It's talking about the king of Babylon. So now you see that they put the king of Babylon saying that he was trying to be high and fail. Then through translations from a guy beefing with another guy, he put his name in it, which is Lucifer. So these are the two things, and these had two of these got mixed up into that. That's why I said through translation and through other things, this Bible have layers and layers and layers. Okay, now what is the morning star? Because Lucifer is known as the morning star. Morning star being Venus. Why is Venus called the morning star or the evening star? Venus shines so brightly that it is the first star to appear in the sky after the sun sets, or the last to appear before the sun rises. Its orbit's position changes, thus causing it to appear at different times of the night throughout the year. Okay? So this is what I would call, and I said a lot of them had what's called astrology religion. They would take planets, they would take nature, planets, stars, all this stuff, and create deities with them. So now you see that the falling part of going up to high, falling down, is the king of Babylon. The translation of what the word they use comes from a man named Saint Lucifer, who in politics, they got his name used as wickedness, so the other one can win. The Venus is what you call the astrology worship that they did, taking deities from planets. Okay, so you're seeing that's 3 levels right there. Morning star and the Vulgate, bringer of dawn. The Septuagint renders Greek as bringer of dawn, the ancient Greek name for the Septuagint, Septuagint. Bringer of dawn, the ancient Greek name for the morning star. Similarly, the Vulgate renders Latin as Lucifer, the name in the language for morning star. So now they're saying through the language, they use that name. So it all has different meanings. It's so deep because of the language, the influence, the translation, all this stuff can mean different things if you look at it from different eyes. And this is what I'm trying to get people to understand. That's why people can look at this and say, oh, Lucifer is this. No, Lucifer is this. Lucifer is the morning star. Lucifer is the king of Babylon. This is how it is because it's different layers. All of y'all not wrong. But when you put it all together, then you get the whole truth. All right. Now, this is what some scholars say. Shahar Dawn. This is what they say, the dawn. This is what they say that part is coming from when it's talking about the dawn in the Bible. The Canaanite God. We can begin to translate the Old Testament to the Greek around 200 BCE, a version now known as the Septuagint. Jewish scholars assigned to the task came across this phrase in Isaiah 14:12, Hillel ben Shahar. Shahar was the Canaanite god of dawn. To this day, the word in Arabic for dawn is Sahar, and Hillel, the morning star, was his son. In Greek, the phrase became, well, you know that word's the Greek name. So this is telling you that they think that this could have been a Canaanite god that got put into the Bible too. So that's 4 layers now. 4 layers. The man, the king, the wicked king, Saint Lucifer, the Venus, the morning star of the dawn, which means what is the Canaanite god. Boy, it gets deep. Okay. All right. All right. Canaanite Israelite religion. Now I'm showing this because I'm showing how close the Israelite and Canaanite religion is. Every time I go into the history of it, I see a similarity between the both. Canaanite religion is a controversial term because the Bible and some religious scholars distinguish between Canaanite and Israelite religion. However, biblical and archaeology data suggests that Israelite religion was one local variety of a larger regional Canaanite religion. Canaanite religion is the religion of all peoples living on the eastern Mediterranean seaboard prior to the Common Era. The gods and the myths in this religion display some stable characteristics, yet evolve new details and changing divine relationships throughout the ancient times. So we all know when we went over there, we didn't kill the Canaanites. We actually got influenced. We actually started worshiping some of their gods. And some scholars say that we actually influenced them too. So that's what the argument over El is. Some say El was brought in by the Israelites. Some will say Israelites took El from the Canaanites. Okay, the Gnostic mystery of Lucifer and esoteric meaning. You know, I try to make this short as I can. I don't want to make it too long so people can really look at it and, you know, not get bored or anything. Madame Blavatsky claims of how Lucifer got in the Bible. And this is her claims, which is mysticism. She's part of the mysticism esoteric. Use some esoteric, my bad. The name Lucifer is not a real name that appears in the Bible, but Latin version of the original word Halil, which means the shining one. The name Lucifer appears in the King James Version of the Bible and its meaning light bringer is given it according to the Madame Blavatsky. It is Pope Gregory that made a connection between Lucifer and Satan when interpreting the only appearing mention of Lucifer in the Old Testament from a passage of Isaiah that says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning," which was a passage criticizing the Assyrian king. So now this is somebody else that's saying the Assyrian king is who Lucifer is in the Bible. Now these are just, I'm going both sides of different arguments. That's what I do as a researcher, and that's what researchers do. You try to get all the information and put both sides. You don't just go one way. You don't go a biased way. You don't go with an agenda. Most people do, though. Jesus calling himself the morning star. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you the testimony for the churches. I am the root of the offspring of David and the bright morning star. Why would Jesus make a reference to himself as being the antithesis of God? Why would he be associated anyway with Lucifer? We can find an answer to this question in the teaching of Samuel Weir. Planet Venus is esoterically known as the planet of love, though as every planet has both positive and negative rays. We can discover that the negative side of Venus is the opposite of love. It is lust. So now we get into the esoteric part of what Venus is symbolically, which means love. So it's meaning turning your state from lust to love, from high to low, from heaven to hell. From hell to heaven. Okay? Let's go. The light. Illuminating and morning star. The light of lust is a false light that is mechanical and enslaving, whereas the light of love is true light that shines like a morning star, illuminating the way for initiates that thread the path. We can only make of it our guide when the transition is made from lust to love, because only then can we see its light illuminating the path in front of us and gradually illuminating and settling within our inner. The star is also known as the stellar Maris, the star of the sea, the beginning, the being Christ. So this is why he's saying he's the morning star that represents Venus, that symbolically represent love. So if you ask me, Jesus was part of mysticism. And if he was here today, you would call him esoteric. Okay. Let's go to this, the Ark Hierophant. P is going. I don't know how that happened. The Ark Hierophant. In one of the lectures, Samuel Onwera has said the following: that is Lucifer, but do not think in a anthropomorphous archangel. Lucifer is very individual. Each one of us has a particular individual Lucifer. Lucifer is one of the aspects of our eternal being, and in truth is the most important one. I would say that the duplicate of the third logos is ourselves, the shadow of Shiva, and the Ark Hierophant and Ark Magician, and the root of our actions, because it's one of the most important aspects of our beings, because he is the duplicate of our inner God. He fell in the darkness of this world and was transformed into the devil. So this is how you hear a lot of people say, you was your higher self and you fell to your lower self. You was in heaven, you fell to hell. Stuff like that. This is what this means. That's the esoteric meaning of it. And what they do is they show beings. Just like any other time, they show beings, and a being that falls, it's not talking about the character, it's talking about a fallen state. A fall of consciousness sometimes, subconscious, a fall of morals. Being godly to being a devil. This is why certain people say you are God and a devil, because you can be either one. You could be wicked and evil. You could do evil and you could do good. Luciferic figure, the inner self, a painting by Nicholas Ruich, shows a group of higher beings associated with various spiritual traditions sitting together in the Himalayas, and among them is a green-skinned Luciferic figure, indicating that the darkness is used to further up the evolution of humanity. There are as many devils as humans being on the earth. Each one of us has his own devil, and this particular devil is black as coal, crystallized by the conductigator organ and the negative form, and the fire of fertility, the Luciferic fire. Lucifer is in awkwardness, but he has the most excellent creature, not inside the being, but in ourselves. So this is showing different aspects of spirituality. And it's talking about the evolution of humanity spiritually. And how when we talk about like I said, inside ourselves, the Lucifer, the devils as humans inside ourselves, we become devils. That's like all these people out here shooting, killing stuff. They chose the evil. They chose the wickedness. They chose to be the devil. The people that's trying to get close to the Most High becomes godly, becomes a God on earth. You know what I'm saying? But society makes you think that money and riches is what make you God when it doesn't. Okay, let's go. Outro. So now I'm showing that Lucifer is a man, a wicked king who fell, also a saint that was put in through translation, also broke down why he was called the morning star, and have shown the esoteric meaning of it. So y'all get into this stuff, man. Understand what y'all saying. Listen to what y'all saying. Study what y'all saying, because it could be deeper than what you think it is, okay? And I'm gonna break down more stuff. I'm gonna try to do the cherubim thing because a lot of people say cherubim is the serpent. I'm gonna get people to understand that cherubim and the serpent can't be the same thing. So I'm gonna start breaking down these things, bringing truth back to the biblical text in the form of reality, so people won't stop looking at it as fairy tales. Okay, peace out. Yeah, peace, peace, peace. You know what I'm saying? That was. I hope y'all enjoyed that one. That was a Lucifer and Isaiah. You know, go back and listen to it if you didn't catch the whole thing. Some people might have got on, but the next one that's coming up is going to be the origin of the secret society and mysticism. And what I'm showing is how what a lot of people follow that they call it mysticism and stuff like that is actually coming from a Greek version. It's not coming from Kemet, in which they actually believe that they think they're getting it from Kemet. And I'm gonna show how the Greeks misinterpreted a lot of stuff from Kemet, and that's where these secret societies and mysticism came from. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy this. It should be like two parts too, because one's like 7 minutes, but the other one like 26 minutes, because I had to make two parts. Yes, I explained on Morningstar. I explained how Lucifer got in there. It was later put in there through a man named Saint Jerome, is what they say, because there was another named Saint Lucifer at the time. And he put it in there. But in reality, it's supposed to be historically, it's supposed to be either the king of Assyrian or Babylon. They was trying to tell. So that's the difference of size I was trying to get it to come from. You want me to sing you the next one? Oh, okay. I ain't know. Yeah, again, I'm gonna break this down because I'm starting to notice a lot of things we do, man. The most influential, the most influenced nation on us right now is the Greek nation, the ancient Greek nation. We do a lot of things. We still practice a lot of things and teach a lot of things that actually coming from the Greeks. And that's why I understand what Kamisha was trying to say with the language part. When it comes to Kemet, a lot of Kemet dudes is going through like a Greek version of Egypt, and that's why they really don't really know nothing. Is it working, or you want me to send you the YouTube version? Well, let me go check and see if somebody to talk. Hey, I share light to the lands, man. Sharing light. Subscribe. And showing the origin of how when people could come and take a people belief and through misunderstanding can actually change the understanding of it and then pass it down to the people after them, thinking that they getting it from the original, but actually getting it from a copy of misunderstanding. Let's get to it. Mysticism. Ancient Greek mysticism by Hannah Shapiro. The Greeks gave us the word for mysticism. The Greek word muo means to shut the eyes of the mouth. Muo is closely related to the verb mio, to initiate into the mysteries. The closed eyes and mouth in this context do not signify blindness and muteness, but secrecy and silence. In order not to reveal the secrets of the initiation of revelation that one has received, these Greek root words have given us mystic and mysticism, mystery, mysteries, as well as mute. Every time we talk about mysticism, we speak of the we speak a bit of the Greek. But what exactly is mysticism? The word is often downgraded to mean superstition, priestcraft, occultism, and magic, or other things that are regarded as irrational, all of which are somewhat related to mysticism and the mystical life. But the basic meaning of mysticism has to do with the relationship of human beings to a divinity of deity or for non-thesis. Thesis. So that's letting you know the breakdown of what it really is, and like I said, how we get the precept of what we think it is, but really started off at. And let's see what I'm talking about now. This right here, this is the oldest secret society. Let's see where they say they get theirs from. Rosicrucians, the Rose Cross Ladies, claim to be the oldest fraternal order in the world. They believe that all knowledge is part of the single ultimate truth, a truth they kept for 5,000 years. They state that they state they began in the magic and mystery schools of ancient Egyptians and kept the secrets intact through the age despite being jealously prosecuted by religion and kings alike. Or so Michael Mayer claimed in the 17th century French. They trace their established in Egypt. Huh. They trace their beginnings to the mystery school, which was established in Egypt during the reign of the Pharaoh Thutmose and Hatshepsut around 1500 BCE. The monarchs united Egypt's various cults into a single state priesthood, the Per Anku. The order claims their most famous members were Akhenaten and his wife Nefertiti. So this is the oldest organization, claiming that they get it all the way back from Egypt. And this is why I say most of these people that's talking about they getting their origin back from Egypt, they're not telling the truth, or either they just don't know. So let's go. Let's show you what I mean. Okay. Egypt inspired Greeks. Ancient Egypt's neighbors in Greece wrote their belief that Egyptian priests and magicians possess secret knowledge. Greek belief in Egyptian secret knowledge is one strand of Greek philosophy that contributed to the modern belief that the Egyptians perfected mysticism, astrology, and magic. A wide variety of modern truth seekers have looked into Egyptians for inspiration. They included the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Theosophists, Anthropologists, Afrophysics, and Afrocentrists. These groups share a belief that Egyptians both created the first civilization and that their knowledge has only recently been rediscovered by modern science. So they say this is a lost knowledge that they believe have been found later on. But if you look, it's showing that they're saying the Greeks got their knowledge and learned from the Egyptians. Okay? Mysticism, astrology, and magic. But let's see what the Greeks did. That's what changed it. All right. Now, let's go to one of the gods of Egypt first. And let me show you how it changed from one thing to another. And this is what I'm talking about. How can us, who getting some thousands of years later, think we're getting something intact and 100% correct? And then it has been translated. Okay, so let me get to my point. Thoth. In the Old Kingdom, the Egyptians regarded the god Thoth as a violent deity who helped the king defeat enemies. But in the Middle Kingdom, the Egyptians identified and gave Thoth credit for the first statement of knowledge of the next life. The coffin text spells inscribed on Middle Kingdom coffins refer to the divine books of Thoth and to the god as the Lord of Wisdom. Now you see how from the Old Kingdom just to the Middle Kingdom how it changed. Just from the Old Kingdom to the Middle Kingdom. He became a divine deity that helped the enemy. That helped the king defeat enemies to a person who created the knowledge and writings and spells. Come on now. Now that's just from what they would say are the same people from the old to the middle, but we know it been, invaded a couple times here and there. So, and that's why I said it can't stay intact through invasion. Now let's go to who Thoth really was. Because Thoth's not even the original word. You see what I'm saying? So even then, they still was changing the words to benefit their understanding. And when you do that, it's just not going to never be the same. Egyptian's name was Jehuti, also Dhyty, meaning he who is like the ibis. The ibis was a sacred bird. The ancient Egypt was well as a popular bird in ancient Egypt as well as a popular pattern associated with wisdom. So this is the symbolism part that people not understanding. And see, the Egyptians, they didn't look at it as far as they worshiping these gods as real people or real gods like we do today. But the problem is, like I said, our Israelite, this is called idol worship and God worship because they made images and, stories behind it and called it a deity. That's why if you hear them, Kemet and Israelite argue, Kemetic said, no, we have deities and not gods. But to an Israelite, it would be the same. So, you got to go to the aspects of what eyes you're looking from. How Greeks stole from Egypt and created their own. The story of Setni Camwas was written in the Ptolemaic period. It tells the story of the struggle between Setni and the magician Neferkapata for possession of the book of magic written by the god Thoth. Greek ideas that Egyptian magic stems from the god they believe was Thoth's equivalent in their own culture, Hermes. Greek writers regularly misinterpreted Greek stories to create a philosophy called Hermetism that they believed was Egyptian, but in fact was a Greek misinterpretation of Egyptian culture. There is no evidence that the Egyptians believed in mystical relations of knowledge in the Greek sense. So this right here is telling you it was misinterpreting things that fit their philosophy. So they were taking these things, switching around, changing the name, changing the understanding, changing the definition of the gods, but it was similar.
because it's not from. They saying it's not these people are saying it's not for purpose on purpose. They say it's because of the misinterpretation, because of the way they thought. If a Christian right now go into an Old Testament, like I said, an Old Testament guy wrote a book, and a Christian and a Christian tried to read it, right? Do you really think they'll be able to do it? Because one believes in a Trinity, one believes in a man that's coming to save, and the other one only believes in God. So of course they're not going to interpret or even through translators to really understand where this person is coming from. It's just what it is. The cultures are different. The belief system is different. Greece created secret cults. In ancient Greek cults, initiation was the norm. Initiation consists of secret rites, ceremonies, orders of instructions used to allow a member to enter a sect or a secret society, usually one that held a certain philosophy about Egyptian life and the gods. The Greeks assumed the Egyptian cults also had initiation. The mysteries of Osiris and Abydos are the most frequently cited example of initiation in the Greek sense, yet the festival route in Abydos, as with festivals routes in other Egypt towns, points to a public ceremony with processions to public shrines, singing, dancing, and general rejoicing as integral and to the festival. As late as 200 CE, the Christian writer Felix knew that Abydos festival was public rather than private. So what they're saying is they was creating secret societies and initiations coming off of believing that the Greeks was doing this, but not understanding that it was not a secret society. And they're saying it's not a secret society because they was more public with theirs. This is when it started becoming more secret in secret society where you had to get initiated and do things once the Greeks got a hold to it. So modern mysticism and secret society origin is Greek influence. Thus there does seem to be an Egyptian basis for many ideas propagated by the ancient Greeks by Egyptian spiritual knowledge. Clearly, however, the Greeks interpreted much of what they saw in ancient Egypt to confirm with their own ideas of spirituality, philosophy, and secret knowledge. Though there was an Egyptian basis for many Greek ideas about ancient Egypt, the Greeks' distinctive interpretation led to many modern views of Egypt as the land of mysteries, spiritualism, and secret knowledge. Again, it's just showing. So all that secret society, mysticism, all that stuff they saying it came from Egypt, no. It came from the Greeks who misinterpreted Egypt. Greek Mystery School by Met Museum. Shrouded in secrecy, ancient mystery cults fascinate and capture the imagination appendant to the official cults in the Greeks and Romans. Mystery cults serve more personal, individualistic attitudes towards death and afterlife. Most were based on sacred stories that often involve the ritual reenact of death, rebirth, myth, and particular divinity. In addition to the promise of a better afterlife, mystery cults fostered social bonds among the participants called mystia. Initiation fees and other contributes were also expected. Department of Greek and Roman art. Now, you see what I'm saying? Even they was making money off this. This is an ancient thing. So the people that's doing that today understand. They are doing this because of money. This is a beneficial thing to make people think that they're part of something secret and special. Earliest mysteries. Illusion. The earliest and most celebrated mysteries were the illusion and Eleusis, the worship of the archaeological deities Demeter and her daughter Persephone, also known as Kor, was based on the growth cycles of nature. Atheists believed they were the first to receive the gift of grain cultivation from Demeter. Extraordinarily, the goddess herself revealed to them the solemn rites in her honor, as we learned the Homeric hymn to Demeter, which relates to the foundation myth of Eleusinian cult. So, see, this is one of the first mysteries that the Greeks dealt with. And like I said, most of this stuff is about nature. It's either archaeology or nature or animals. These are the three things these people, or animals. These are the three things most of these people, I guess you not, I guess you say honored as deities, but as like I said, it's like you would say worship as God. ISIS and the spread of ISIS and the spread of especially in Rome. So ISIS spread in Rome. So you know what I mean. This talking about ISIS, um, the ISIS, the goddess Isis, and how she was spread through Rome from Egypt. Isis was another Eastern goddess who caught spread all over the Mediterranean. Similar to Demeter, Isis was considered a lawgiver and protector of the crops, while ritual purification and the sacred rites were performed in her honor. In pharaonic Egypt, Isis was sister of a wife Osiris, god of the afterlife, and a mother of Horus, whom she appears suckling. In the Greek word, the earliest temple dedicated to Isis was founded in Athens in the 4th century BCE. The cult spread rapidly through the 3rd century BC and was linked closely to the particular and military activities of the Ptolemies. Isis remained the distinctively Egyptian goddess, and her cult maintained a clear Egyptian identity even after the conquest of Alexander and the Romans. Okay, this is talking about Isis, how it spread through Greeks. Now let's go to Isis. Same with Thoth. Isis, Egyptian is set one of the most important goddesses of ancient Egypt. Her name is the Greek form of an ancient Egyptian word for throne. So this is what I'm saying. People is going by the interpretation, even in the names, even in the deities. They'll see Isis not even knowing that's not the Egyptian word. Then some people would know as I said. But how much people really go by that? Because I know most people say Isis. Romans adopt mysticism. Now this is going from the Egyptians to the Greeks to the Romans, but most of us would tell you that the Greeks and Romans damn near are the same people. A big subject, which I am only just beginning to write about. The Romans were great believers and indeed lovers of mysticism and superstition in all aspects of life. We can see evidence of that scattered about ancient Rome culture to this day. Rome abundant in mystery, religions and cults were what went on inside what is to be kept secret to all non-members. Examples include Mithraism and the cult of Dionysus, forbidden for its violent and orgastic nature, which resulted in the unforgettable political scandal. So that's talking about the Romans. and they really love the mysticism and all that because, like I said, they ain't nothing but a branch off of the Greeks. Emperor Constantine truths, Mysticism, and Christianity. Emperor Constantine heralded the victory of Christianity over Mithraism, and this meant that Mithraistic altars, such as the one which can be seen under the Church of Clement Saint Clement in Rome, were destroyed by the Christians, as Mithraism had had the better at the time. One may stretch the imagination of a little and suggest that the culture of the Western world of today will have been Mithric. So if they saying is this other I guess you would say type of religion or whatever, mysticism, if this didn't get destroyed and Constantine didn't put it down and bring Christianity over, most of us would be this. Because we know why they created it. They created these things for power, okay? Constantine got rid of Christian sects. Constantine called the Council of Nicaea, which was a gathering of Christian leaders to determine the formal or orthodox belief of Christianity. The result of this council was the Nicene Creed, which laid out the agreed upon beliefs of the council. In 380 CE, the Emperor Theodosius issued the Edict of Thessalonica, which made Christianity, specifically Nicene Christianity, the official religion of the Roman Empire. Most other Christian sects were deemed heretical, lost their legal status, and had their properties confiscated by the Roman state. Okay, this is saying they made a type of Nicene Christianity and got rid of the most and put this type of Christianity over because it was always different sects. It was never one type of Christianity, just like today. Okay, and so this is not saying, from my reading and understanding, it's not saying that Constantine created Christianity. It's saying the form of Christianity was always around. I guess they would made the name Christians by calling them Christians. I guess you would say that's why he made it. But he didn't make that type of, they're saying he basically adopted it, took it, put it over top of the other cults, occultists and mysticism, and made it their own, and then got rid of the other Christian sects by claiming that they are heretical. They're heretics, okay? Roman influence on Christianity. The Roman Empire did not become Christianized overnight. Roman religious beliefs changed slowly over time. At the time of the Russian Roman Empire fell, 467 CE, Christianity was still spreading. It is also important to remember that Christianity itself did not appear suddenly or fully formed. Christianity grew out of Jewish traditions and was shaped by Roman cultural and particular structures of several countries. Christianity was deeply influenced by both Judaism and Roman cultural institutions. We can't fully understand the development of Christian religion without putting it into these contexts. So this one I was talking about being influenced. So Christianity is coming on, and once the Roman Empire took it, of course they put their own spin on it. They influenced it by Roman thoughts, and they say Judaism is in it. So you got to understand. This is what I mean when somebody else touches it. Mysticism, Paul letters. The mystical aspects of early Christianity finds its fullest expression, however, in the letters of Paul and the Gospel according to John. For Paul and John, mystical experience, and aspirations are always for union with Christ. It was Paul's supreme desire to know Christ and to be united with them. The recurrent phase in Christ implies personal union, participation in Christ's death and resurrection. The Christ with whom Paul is united is not the man Jesus who is known after the flesh. He was been exalted and glorified so that he is one with the Holy Spirit. So they saying that's a lot of what made him mysticism, part of mysticism, because of the one being united with or reunion with the one with a deity, which is Christ. But people want to accept that, they accept him as just a real man, but some people accept him as a deity, as a deity form. People like me would say it's the son, that he's the son, and he's other different gods too, but mixed in, but he's the son, worship on Sunday, that's created into a man that has a story behind it, just like any other mythical mysticism story. Christianity and Roman mysticism similarities. The similarity of religious vocabulary is also great. Greek life was characterized by such things as democratic institutions, seafaring, gymnasium, and athletic games, theater, and philosophy. The mystery religions adopted many expressions from those domains. They spoke of assembly, of the mystia, the voyage of life, the ship, the anchor, and the port of religion, and the wealth of an initiate. Life was a stage, and the man was the actor. The Christians took over the entire terminology, but many pagan words were strangely twisted in order to fit into a Christian world. And that's what I'm talking about. When everything became translated, and they took and put all these books together, they mixed in a lot of paganism through the words, and they added books. They can say what they want to. You ain't go hide the Romans was your enemy, but they have a book called the Book of Romans. Okay, let's get to the differences they're saying. There are also great differences between Christianity and the mysteries.
I don't know why I stopped like that. That one might have, I don't know, that one might have messed up.
So we got the English room talk.
If one ain't go, if that one ain't gonna play, you can go to the last one.
That was the end. I'm going to the last one. Give me a minute.
Okay. Yeah, let me check and see what people say in the comments while we waiting.
There's part two. I'm going back to part two of it. Christians and mysticism differences. There are also great differences between Christianity and the mysteries. Mystery religions, as a rule, can be traced back to tribal origins. Christianity to a historical person. The holy stories of mysteries were myths. The Gospels of the New Testament, however, relate historical events. The books that the mystery communities use in Roman times cannot possibly be compared to New Testament. Okay, so they're trying to say one of the differences is that the Gospels are supposed to have historical events, and we know that the Greeks is mythology. But that is to be tested because they don't have proof that all that stuff is history. So, I think they're just going off their own beliefs. All right, these are the three people who are part of mysticism that we might know. Aleister Crowley. Despite being incredibly controversial, there is no doubt that Aleister Crowley has a place among the most famous mystics in the world. This modern mystic founded several cult societies, and the most famous of which, the Lema, promoted the black arts. Though this certainly makes Crowley a different type of mystic, the others who appear on this list perhaps is not surprisingly, considering he often referred to himself as both 666 and a beast. Apparently, when Crowley met famous contemporary mystic George Gurdjieff, also on our list of the most famous historical mystics, the latter referred to Crowley as dirty inside. So we all know about him. He's one of the teachers of Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey is one of the teachers of Scientology. So, So we understand the influence that he had on rock and roll and music and everything. Okay. Nostradamus. Nostradamus had been dead for nearly 500 years, yet his book, Les Prophecies, is still in print. Nostradamus was a French physician and mystic who garnered such a following in Europe during the early 1500s that he was employed by the French royal family as a seer. He's been given credit for predicting a number of events that later happened, though most modern academics assert that any correct predictions are simply the result of misinterpretations and mistranslations, sometimes deliberate, or else are so vague as to render them useless as evidence of genuine predictive power. Meaning, a lot of that stuff really ain't what it's saying, and they made it into a way that with his prophet that it seemed like that he knew exactly what he was prophesizing. Buddha, as any person anywhere in the world to name a famous mystic, and it's very likely they'll answer Buddha. Buddha, born sometimes around 500 BCE, is the famous Eastern mystic who lessons from the foundations of modern day of Buddhism, the essence of Gautama's. teachings include the need for humans to find a middle way between sensual indulgence and severe asceticism in order to ultimately end the suffering that comes with rebirth as an enlightened man who is able to achieve full Buddhahood. Buddha's oral teachings have been passed down for centuries. That's another thing. Oral tradition, I don't care what is passed down, but oral tradition is written. Once people conquer, once people get influenced, once other things happen, and just by being passed down, it is not going to be 100% correct. And that's in any culture, anywhere, any nation, any tribes. I'm showing how something like mysticism can be a ancient origin meaning one thing, but by invasion and misunderstanding from the invading nation can change the whole knowledge of it. Also, I'm showing how modern people like mystics can think they're getting their knowledge from the original, but actually from earlier people who actually influenced them. This is my bonuses. How many people knew that Professor X and Magneto were based off Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X? The maker based X-Men of the Civil Rights Movement and NOI, Professor X being MLK, wanted to unite the mutant and human race. Magneto wanted to fight the human race, the betterment of the mutants. So when I was growing up, I understood that. I knew that they was based off of black people in the civil rights. I knew it because the way they was treated. What happened was, at that time they didn't want to make a bunch of black heroes, so he had to mix that in. When you look at Professor X and you look at Magneto, you can actually see the Malcolm X and Martin Luther King inside both of them. The way their thought process was and how they was arguing with each other, but they were also friends. Check it out. And this is the last one, Tasmanian. William Lane, an Aboriginal Tasmanian man known for being the last full-blooded Aboriginal man of the colony of Tasmania. Clearly, you can see they took the animal Tasmania and mixed it with the people. They'll tell you they got this from the animal, but look at these features. All they did was take the body of the animal and put his face and put the face of the Tasmanian on there. And this is how they do. And that's how they've been doing forever. You see how they did that? But if you really had the keen eye, you'll see this ain't coming from the animal. If I showed you the animal has a straight, skinny face. Animal don't look nothing like this. Okay, so I hope y'all learned something. This is part 2. At the end of part 1, I got some more stuff coming. Elevate y'all mind research team. Okay, elevate your mind research. We about to come with that fire. Peace out. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, my bad, y'all. I had bad connection on my other one, but yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that one. We'll just break it down, and like I said, with the stuff I'm showing, it's not me teaching it like from what I believe. This is from just me researching, going to both sides, showing what both sides are saying, what people disagreeing with. I'm showing a little I'm showing some history too of what I'm saying is, is basically the Greeks misinterpreted Kemet and a lot of stuff that's called like social secret societies and mysticism and all that stuff is a form of the Greek way, but they'll tell you that it's the Kemet way. And I'm telling people like anything else that I talk about, there's no way that it's going that far back and it's still going to be coming from the original. So that's just my take. But the next video I'm gonna show
It's called near death experience. I'm showing some people that's going to be that study people who actually was called clinically dead, or what you would call it like when the heart stops, but it's brings to the lab, things they seen, what scientists say, what they trying to claim it is, and a rebuttal to what they claim it is to show that it is something after this. I always wanted to know, like, is it any way that I could prove that it might be something after you leave this body? And from my research, I'm going to show that I feel like it is. It is some evidence that can show that you do go somewhere. I just wanted to do that just to be in a, I guess you could say, can I show it in a scientific way? You can go in the Bible all day and show that, but I was saying, could I go in a scientific way and show people who didn't want to just know it from the Bible? Is it a real life way right now that's going on that I could show? So that's what this new one's going to do. I hope y'all enjoy.
True knowledge. You can catch me on Facebook, TikTok, and Bang. And you catch me on Elevate Y'all Minds YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Elevate Y'all Minds YouTube. Go to my presentation. What happens to people who experience NDE, near death experience? I am basing this presentation off my research from people who clinically died called NDE, near death experience. I will be speaking on things they seen and experienced like the light, darkness, seeing relatives and friends that pass, having no fear and having peace. Also, the scientists, scientific reason for these events, and a leading NDE, Bruce Grayson, with Emily Kelly, claims that conscious lives without the brain. The reason I want to talk about this because I just had questions and I never seen really people speak on it, and I wanted to know, like, do people really see this stuff? Do they really leave their body? Is it just our imagination of who hallucinating? So when I have questions like these, I research on it. Let's get to the two forms of death. This is called clinical death. First comes clinical death, which is when breathing and blood flow stop. Clinical death is the same as cardiac arrest. The heart has stopped beating and the blood flow stopped flowing. If blood flow can be restored either by cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is CPR, or by getting the heart pumping again, the patient could come back from clinical death. It's not a sure thing. Success rates for CPR are pretty dismal. So I know a couple of people that's had this, um, like shock in the heart, CPR, stuff like that. So a clinical death is something that does come back. So when people say I died, it's really a medical term of clinical death, uh, near death experience. They really didn't all the way what they would call death, meaning brain dead, whole body shut down. They so it's a form of death that they see because your heart stops. You still can die if they don't bring the heart pumping again and the blood flow. And you got biological death. Biological death, on the other hand, is a brain death, and there's no turning back from the brain death. That is irreversible death. Just to make things a bit more complicated, however, it is possible to keep the body alive while the brain is dead. The heart is more of a subcontractor than an employee of the body. It keeps its own hours and works without the direct supervision by the brain. Since the heart works without the brain input, it's possible to keep it going for a long time after the brain is dead. Okay, so this is right now a reversible death, meaning when the brain dies, brain dead, or vegetable that we would call it in the hood. So let's go to the next. Scientists say the energy that gave you life lives on. Even our genes will eventually fade, and all that we are will become clay. Do you find such oblivion disheartening? You're not alone. but you may take solace in the fact that the part of you will continue on long after your death. Your energy, according to the first law of thermodynamics, the energy that powers all life continues on and can never be destroyed. It is transformed. I didn't mean to put the comedian part, but it's showing that the energy transforms and it doesn't die. This is a teaching that's new to a lot of people that's coming out and people speaking on it. Some people are saying the energy and the light is God, but we can get into all that too. So let's go to the next subject. The light. One of the things people see. Some people say that this is when they know that death is coming for the people. But a lot of people who was already clinically dead sees this afterwards. You know what I mean? Some people they say I guess see it through it, but I'm so this is speaking on afterwards, meaning after they are considered clinically dead. Okay, so let's get to it. Seeing a white light. One of the most common and well known near death experiences for those who die and come back is seeing a bright white light. This white light isn't something to be afraid of. In fact, most report is coming with a sense of peace and even happiness. Many have speculated about the symbolism behind the bright light. It's said to be the light, God, heaven, paradise, or even just entering the void of nothingness. Either way, it's not seen as something to be afraid of. Bruce Grayson, MD, world leading expert on near death experience, the light. So, do people really see the light? The short answer, sort of. Many people who encounter NDE experience what Grayson calls an overwhelming sense of peace and well being. Oftentimes, it's not an actual electric light bulb. People describe it as a living entity radiating tremendous love, acceptance, and warmth. They feel enveloped by it. It permeates their being, and they don't know what to call it. He knows. So they simply name it light. Grayson poses that seeing a light can be a deeply moving experience associated with peace and tranquility. It's not just a ray of sunlight or an electric bulb, while some people do see such brilliance. It's more about the feeling of light itself, warmth, possibility, positivity, and freedom. So most people that see the light feel a lot of peace, calmness, warmth, freedom. I'm gonna get the experience of that too, understanding how the body works, and once you leave this body, how come you don't feel that stuff? We'll go to that later. Another one of Bruce Grayson. Researchers have concluded that people of different cultures report similar phenomena but interpreted them different. The being of light may be God or Christ to a Christian, Allah to a Muslim. Reports studied over 2 decades show no embellishment, underscoring the reliability of experiencers' accounts. Reports recorded before Moody book are consistent with those afterward, indicated that people did not alter their accounts to conform to his model. I mean, they didn't change it up to fit based on a model that he's trying to fix for it and make for it. They kept with their story. Person telling a near-death experience story. When I was 13 years old, I was in northern Michigan in my family's cabin and came down with 106-degree fever, she says. I remember trying to fall asleep and feeling too hot, and then began to notice the room darkening, getting darker, and the moonlight disappearing. After that, Meter says, the really weird stuff began to happen. She started to float up towards the ceiling even though her body was still lying on the bed. Her pain completely vanished as soon she was being pulled down a long, dark tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, there was a blinding white light and a sense of peace and calmness and utter joy. It was fantastic, she says. There's stories of people, of a person telling, you know what I mean? Just fitting all it together with the light and how they leave in the body and how they not feeling. These are similar things that most of them are going through. Okay. Some see emptiness and blackness after death, plus is sleep and death the same? Okay, let's get into this. Emptiness and time itself, and many books after life, after death. Some people reported not feeling much of anything, and that space between life and death is described as blackness, as falling into time itself. This vast emptiness is sometimes seen as scary, but most who have been there sometimes saw it as a collection of experiences and history, like joining a universe consciousness. This is a way to feel connected to the great beyond. Some describe it as a feeling as nothing at all, while others felt trapped into a universal being and the togetherness. So this is the emptiness of the people saying when there's no feeling. Sometimes they don't feel fear, none of that stuff. And I'm like I said, I'm gonna get to that part at the end. It's because I'm gonna have a part of that why it's speaking on this and why they have that. Stories of dying and seeing blackness. I've died once, I don't remember much, and except there was a nice dark nothingness, which I guess felt kind of cozy, but I also knew it was the end, so I'd rather not. I don't know. I knew I wasn't supposed to go into the dark. Like I was in the dark, but I wasn't supposed to be enjoying it because if I embraced it too much, I would die. It was kind of like falling asleep and vaguely remembering a dream when you wake up. Now, I've had this kind of experience when I had a heart attack. It felt like I was dying. So I kind of like closed my eyes and was getting ready. And it wasn't no fear. And it felt good. And it was, like you said, it was black. But it's like, I know I was supposed to be loving this. So I kind of like fought it. And I came back too. You know what I'm saying? So people say don't go into the light. Sometimes don't fall for the darkness too. Stephen Hawking speaks on the darkness of death science. EDU. Stephen Hawking recently said this. I regard the brain as a computer which will stop working when its components fail. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. This is a fairy tale story for people afraid of the dark. Now, this is his own opinion of it. Like I said, these people don't actually know. These are the claims of how they feel because a lot of people that go through science don't go what you would call spiritual. Anything they can't really prove, they leave it outside of science. Some people make claims which they can't prove with science is really don't supposed to do that, but that's another thing. Don Stewart, both sleep and death are um, inevitable. They come at the end of the period of work. Inevitable, my bad. Both sleep and death are inevitable. They come at the end of the period of work. Sleep and death are where people rest for their labors. Through death and sleep are a time of rest. They are not a cessation of being. Those who are dead, as well as those who are asleep, look forward to a time when they will awake. Finally, both dead and those who are asleep awake to face something new. In the case of the dead, it would be a new glorified body in which to spend eternity. Blue letter Bible. I'm trying to mix in different, some science, some spirituality, some biblical stuff, but I'm trying to keep it more science. Greek god of sleep. And the reason I'm showing this is because people saying that sometimes when they died, it felt like they were asleep. So I'm gonna show um the connection between sleep and death and how somebody like the ancient Greeks actually spoke on this. Greek god of sleep. Greek gods use as English words hypnos, god of the personification of sleep. So this is the god of sleep. He is the child of Nyx night, twin brother Thanatos death. His child is Morpheus, god of dreams. Words based on his name we use today: hypnosis, hypnotic, hypnotize, Roman version, somnus. This is his twin brother. Thanatos, Greek god of death, twin brother to Hypnos. In ancient Greek religion and mythology, the personification of death. His touch was gentle, likened unto his brother, twin brother, Hypnos. So check this out. Hypnos is sleep. Thanatos, the twin, is death. That father is night. That mother is dark. Hypnos, hypnos, hypnos. One of hypnos' child is dream. So just put that all together now, and you'll understand that these people was putting science together and making it in the mythology. Seeing relatives and friend after death. Talking to deceased relatives. Another common experience for these who face death is feeling like they're connecting with their loved ones who have already passed. Many people describe feeling like they've entered a room or space full of loved ones. These individuals might have a message of hope, peace, and love. Though these are deceased relatives, there is no fear. It's simply a source of peace, knowing that you're surrounded by those who love most. In a book, What If This Is Heaven? Author Anita Morjani describes feeling close to her deceased father after slipping into a coma. So I heard this story too of people seeing deaf relatives, and we could go into um, that a little bit and of I'm trying to go to both sides of why they saying it's happening, but most of the scientific side. But a Hopkins physician who interviewed 1,400 patients can tell us about that. Vision and vivid dreams are end of life experiences that are seldom talked about. They often include reunions with deceased loved ones and can provide dying patients with profound comfort. So what are they saying is why these people are saying it? It's like their brain or their mind creating this for them to have a peace or calmness of dying. Okay, this is from the studies from the hospice. It's really those subjective experience at the inner life, those inner experiences, the nomenclature, culture, the nomenclature gets really tricky because the only reference point we have is to call them dreams. But what's interesting is that the patients themselves will say, no, no, I don't normally dream. So they're described as more alike than like dreams, but that's what we call them. We use the term vision in our studies because people say that they are awake, but it's not like we walk in and people are seeing things around the room. I think what's happening is that they're probably lucid dreaming. Example: comfort, vision, and dreams. People tended to die as they live. If you have tortured, distressed, traumatic elements of your life, these processes didn't deny that. and they don't deny death. They almost transcend it. Transcend it. I'll give you an example. A mother who had a child who had addiction issues and ended up in prison. Her identity as a mother was questioned by herself and her end of life experience. Her parents came to her and told her she was a good mother, and a guy who lost his arms in childhood was wondering how he was going to be and alive anonymously. On a wonder how he was going to be and live anonymously. He ends up working, and people who he worked with came to him during his end of life experience, and told him that he was the best at what he did. So what they're saying is lucid dreams of things that could have happened to you, and I guess it's telling you that it makes you feel it not only cause peace sometimes when they see the family, but they can see friends, they can see things that that makes them feel better off of the traumas that they had. So like he said, the dude lost his hand at work, and then the people he worked with told him he was the best worker ever. You know, a mother who might was dying and was convincing or asking herself, was I a good mother before I died? They had family members come and tell them, yeah, you did a good job. Now, this is us claims now. These are not, they do not 100% know this because there's not a lot of research in this. Okay, these are people really researching off of few people. 1,400 people is a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people. Okay, so let's go. Flashbacks. Finally, when having a near death experience, some people go through their past instead of experiencing something completely new. They return to time or a place in their memories. This could be a flashback of their highs and lows, or it could be a like reliving a favorite moment. Flashbacks are frequently explored in fiction and storytelling, and they're a way to remind us of the importance of the little moments. If there's anything we can learn from these near death experiences, is that your relationships, feelings, and memories matter most in the end. So, like I said before, that's one of the things I had when I first had this first heart attack. It was like a flashback of everything that I did, um, and it was also things that I wanted to do that I didn't do, and it was an experience of I'm leaving right now. There's nothing I can do about it. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't talk to this person. So that's what flashes in your head sometimes. Flash black death. This is often because your mind has temporarily forgotten that they've died, or because your brain is trying to understand the finality of their death. If their death was particularly traumatic, you're most likely to see or hear the person or relive them. These memories, these recurring memories, are called flashbacks. Okay. Peace and no fear story. The Near Death Experience Research Foundation collects stories from people who have seen the other side. A 4-year-old girl was in the hospital with a high grade fever that had caused hallucinations, vomiting, and fever. When she felt her toes reach the foot of the bed, she opened her eyes to see herself lying on a gurney. But her non-body started to rise up out the building. I began browsing through the time, and she writes, I later detailed things that occurred before I could even talk. As I keep ascending, I felt a peace. There was no questions or unknowns. Time wrapped in on itself. There was no past, present, future as we see it here. Everything happened now and at all at one time. I felt no fears of worries. This is how powerful the conscious is, the subconscious too that I was speaking on. Things can go like that, just like it does when you're alive in this body. Fear is physical. And the reason I'm speaking on this is because we got to understand fear is a physical body thing. And that's why most people, when they leaving here, they don't have the fear anymore because fear is a physical body thing. Let me show you what fear does for you to have fear. Fear is an experience in your mind, but it triggers a strong physical reaction in your body. As soon as you recognize fear, your amygdala, small organ in the middle of your brain, goes to work. It alerts your nervous system, which sets your body fear response into motion. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released. Your blood pressure and heart rate increases. You start breathing faster, even your blood flow changes. Blood actually flows away from your heart and into your limbs, making it easier for you to start throwing punches or running for your life. Your body is preparing for it's called running flight effect. I don't know why that is, but it's called running flight effect. So that's what you gotta understand. It's not just your fear inside the brain, is what it does to your body. It makes your heart start beating fast, blood flow, your adrenaline, all this stuff is going on with the fear. And actually, your body doesn't just want to feel that. And it's a fear of something damaging your physical form. And any type of fear. It raises blood pressure, it does a lot of stuff to you. So, fear is a physical thing, not a spiritual thing. That's why when you leave here, it feels like all that's coming off you like a clothes. It feels like your body is just coming off you like a clothes, like you feel nothing because it's the fear is the physical, not the mind. Peace while dying. When someone is dying, their heartbeat and blood circulation slow down, the brain and organs release less oxygen than they need and so work less well. In the days before death, people often begin to lose control of their breathing. It's common in people to be very calm in the hours before they die. So when you die, you feel in peace because the fear, all that stuff is physical. And like I said, fear of speeds up the heart. So when you are calm, what happens? Everything slows down. When you are asleep, everything slows down. That's where the peace and the calmness comes from, because that is also a part of the physical. Is the other part of fear because it's both physical. But that's why they say when they die, it's not really fear or peace. It's a form of peace that they understand, but they can't understand. They can't. That's why they say it's nothingness, because it's hard to explain. It's not the peace that you would have as what you will say in a physical body. Okay. What many scientists claim the reason for NDE, dream wake state, brain active while having a near death experience. So this is what scientists are trying to say. Some scientists say you may be in a dream wake state when this is talking about when they seeing stuff and seeing the light and stuff. This is what scientists claim. A study published in Neurology suggests near-death experiences stem from a type of sleep-wake state. It compares survivors who had near-death experiences with those who did not. The researchers found that people with near-death experiences were more likely to also undergo REM intrusions, states in which sleep induces upon wakeful conscious. People who have near-death experiences may have an arousal system that predisposes them to REM intrusions. Kevin Nelson, professor at University of Kentucky. So a lot of them still claim, and also they claim that the brain waves still last after you die and all this stuff, and that's why you still see stuff because they saying the conscious doesn't work without the brain, and none of this stuff works without the. But I'm gonna show somebody that's gonna say different from that. But this is what the main claim is. Their claim is not concrete. It's worth nothing that the study does have its limitations. Only 55 patients were interviewed in each group, and the results relied on anecdotal, I mean, and anecdotal, anecdotal evidence. These highlight key difficulties in studying near-death experiences. Such experiences are rare and cannot be induced in a controlled setting. The results is sparse. The result is sparse data open to a lot of interpretation, but it is unlikely that the soul enjoys a post-mortem rump. And see, this how science do sometimes they try to throw that in. See how they try to say there's really not a lot of data and research on it, but they still gonna say, "Oh no, it ain't no soul. We don't still think it's a soul." See, this is still a theory and a claim, not fact. The argument against the dream wake state claim an active brain with having a NDE. UVA, Division of Perceptual Studies, Department of Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Science. Bruce Grayson, born 1946, is professor emeritus of psychiatry and neurobehavioral science at the University of Virginia. He is author of After a Doctor Explores What Near-Death Experiences Reveal About Life and Beyond. Co-author of Irreducible Man and co-editor of Handbook of Near-Death Experience. Emily Williams Kelly is a researcher at the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies with an interest in near-death experiences, reincarnation, other phenomena, suggestive and survival of conscious after death. So these are two people that been studying on near-death experience and does not agree with the with the basic science say of it, where everybody's basically saying of the experiences that people are having in NDE. And Bruce Grayson is the top leading one in it. Okay, he's been doing it for 50 years, I believe, studying it. Consciousness without the brain. The mind-brain questions are particularly absorbing to Grayson and fellow faculty in the Division of Perceptual Studies. He, Edward F. Kelly, and Emily Williams Kelly co-authored Irreducible Man Toward a Psychology for the 21st Century, published in December 2006. Emily Kelly writes about F.W.H. Myers, a 19th century psychologist whose work supports the view that the mind is not generated by the brain but is constrained by it. She and Grayson examine how near-death experiences and other phenomena contravene conventional wisdom that the brain has to be functionally proper for consciousness to exist. So they're going against the conventional teaching of what most science is saying. And they're researching on it and saying that a lot of their conclusions is that the consciousness still works without the brain. Mind and brain models of negative NDE experiences. Current models of mind-brain interactions need to be re-examined, Grayson argues. Even Newton's law of physics break down at the extremes. I think it's the same with the mind-brain. He says, our mind-brain identity model works fine for everyday walking and talking, but when you're looking at times when the brain is not functioning and the mind seems to function quite well, you get into that extreme area where we need to look at some other models. Okay, so he's saying there's need to be more research on this stuff. Not all near-death experiences are uplifting. However, for some, the initial aspects, sensing death, floating out of the body, are terrifying. A few report experiences that confirm two traditional views of hell, fire, brimstone, demons, and tortured souls. One researcher even says that near-death experiences are the work of Satan. So this is the negative part of some people experiencing, and they say that research is kind of hard because some people are twisting it because they don't really want to tell what they happen, because they, you know how humans do. They believe if they can lie a little bit, it would change something. Credible stories of near death experience, peer reviewed, written by Margaret Center. Okay, I'm just going to give you one story. Psychiatrist Brian Wells tells the story of a blind elderly woman. She suffered a cardiac arrest during her stay in the hospital. Wells was the chairman of the psychiatry department. She was unconscious as the resuscitation team tried to revive her. According to her later report, she floated out of the body and stood near the window watching the resuscitation. She observed without any pain whatsoever as they thumped on her chest and pumped air into her lungs. During the resuscitation, a pen fell out of the doctor's pocket and rolled near the same window where her out of body spirit was standing and watching. The doctor eventually walked over, picked up the pen, and put it back in the pocket. He then rejoined the frantic effort to save her. They succeeded. A few days later, she told her doctor that she had observed the resuscitation team at work during her cardiac arrest. No, he smoothly assured her, you were probably hallucinating because of the anoxia, lack of oxygen to the brain. This can happen when the heart stops beating. But I saw your pen roll over the window, she replied. Then she described the pen and other details of resuscitation. The doctor was shocked. So this is a peer reviewed story of a blind woman who seen and had an out of body experience who seen a doctor drop a pen, told her where the pen was dropped and everything. A blind woman now, just don't forget that. So is to let you know after that she had a sight. And I think that's it. So hope you enjoy. Find me again on Facebook, TikTok, and Bing. Elevate Y'all Minds YouTube. Y'all subscribe. Elevate YH at the end. Minds YouTube. Peace out.
Yeah, how you enjoyed the video?
It's a real good information. Um, the audience enjoyed it. I see a few comments, saying good information on both sides. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Can't hear you if you're talking.
Oh, damn, my bad. I had on mute the whole time. Yeah, I appreciate everybody, man. Thank you, Hazel, and thank you, J Mo. I appreciate y'all. That's what I'm doing it for. I'm trying to put up some information. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna research more. I'm gonna go harder. This what I'm. This is what I feel like y'all made me for, man. To help teach, and that's what I want to do. I want to teach for to where this stuff can be taught in like a class. It's given to the youth. Wake our youth up, man. Get them into something that's interesting because they going into this drill, and I keep telling you, the drill music is real dangerous. So that's my war against the drill music, man, because that thing right there, that's a whole nother breed of type of influence. You know what I'm saying? But I hope y'all enjoyed the first. Like I said, the first one was what Lucifer and Isaiah. The second one, was Lucifer, Isaiah. The last one was I forgot what the second one was. My second one, Lucifer. Oh, the mysticism and secret society, the origin of it. The second one is the origin of the secret society and mysticism, and then this one was near death experience where I went to different scientists and got up different scientists and philosophers and all that stuff and psychologists and see what they said about their experiencing of studying people that we call NDE, near death. You know what I'm saying? So let me see if I got any question or anything that I need to answer before I go. You say you are not your body. Yes, you're right, Jamo. You're right about that. Yeah, the fight and flight. Yeah, that's supposed to be. Yeah, that's supposed to be a natural thing that's supposed to happen when you panic and fear. It's called the fight and flight. When it's talking about the, you know, what I'm saying, the brain hitting certain part of your brain and making your heart speed up and all that. Um, hey, Mississippi. I think that's is that Mississippi. I enjoy you, man. You know, I enjoy anybody at least come on and listen. I don't care what. It don't matter what nothing what nobody say. You have the freedom to speak. You know, so I enjoy anybody that come to listen. Stay tuned. I'm gonna get some more information. I want to bring about Martin Luther King mama. They assassinated her and killed. And when I ain't gonna say they killed her brother. Her brother died mysteriously drowned. So I'm gonna break that down. I got some more stuff coming too. So y'all stay tuned. Thank you, Karima.